who actually benefits from a high-end ballistic rangefinding binocular like the Vortex Talon HD 10K, and who would be better off putting their money toward a regular pair of optics. If you've ever stood on a ridge trying to estimate a distance while the wind shifts, or you've tried to line up a shot only to get a surprise out-of-range warning on your phone, you know the frustration of mismatched tools. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In today's review, I'll walk through the everyday scenarios that make this gadget a game-changer for some, a hard-to-justify expense for others, and why the price point matters more than the headline 1042 label. Let's start with the core problem most buyers face: needing accurate distance data while keeping both eyes open. Traditional rangefinders force you to look through a single window, then you have to shift your gaze back to the target. The Talon HD solves that by embedding a laser rangefinder directly into the binoculars eyepieces and projecting the result onto an active matrix red OLED overlay. In practice, you're still looking at the scene, but a small numeric readout pops up in your line of sight. For a hunter in the field, that means you can keep your head steady, lock a shot, and get wind-adjusted drop data without breaking focus. For a birdwatcher who simply wants to know how far a raptor is perched, the same overlay can give you a quick mental reference without pulling out a phone. The biggest selling point is the integrated GeoBallistics engine. It pulls temperature, pressure, humidity, and even compass bearing from built-in sensors, then calculates wind drift and bullet drop on the fly. Imagine you're on a windy afternoon in the Rockies. The device tells you the exact correction you need for a .30 caliber round at 650 yards, displaying a small +2 MOA adjustment right next to the distance number. That level of immediacy is something you normally only see in high-end rifle scopes, and it eliminates the need for a separate ballistic calculator. If your sport relies on precision, whether it's long-range target shooting or tactical entry, this integration can shave minutes off your prep time and reduce human error. However, the tech isn't a magic bullet. The OLED overlay, while crisp, can become hard to read in very bright sunlight because the red matrix relies on contrast rather than backlighting. Users have reported that when the sun is directly behind you, the numbers fade into the background and you end up squinting or switching to a traditional rangefinder app. So if you spend most of your time in open deserts or high alpine environments with relentless glare, you might find the display less reliable than advertised. Another practical consideration is how the binoculars handle in the hand. The Talon HD is built to survive harsh conditions. It's waterproof, fog-proof, and rated for drops. The housing feels solid, but the added electronics make it a tad heavier than a comparable 1042 pair without rangefinding. For a hunter who plans to stalk for hours, the extra ounce can translate to a more noticeable arm fatigue, especially if you're also carrying a rifle and other gear. The good news is the unit is tripod compatible, so you can mount it for prolonged observation or for use as a stationary spotting scope. That flexibility is a real strength for anyone who sets up a blind or a hide and wants to keep their hands free for other tasks. Pricing is where the decision really splits. Vortex positions the Talon HD in the premium segment, and the price reflects not just the optics but the integrated laser, sensors, and lifetime VIP warranty. For a seasoned hunter who already invests in high-end rifles, optics, and accessories, the cost can be amortized across many seasons of use. In that context, the value comes from the time saved on calculations and the confidence of knowing the exact ballistic solution at a glance. Conversely, a casual weekend shooter who only hunts a few times a year may find the same functionality achievable with a separate handheld laser rangefinder and a basic ballistic app for a fraction of the price. What about everyday usability? Battery life is a common worry with any device that runs a display and a laser. The Talon HD uses rechargeable Lion cells that, according to Vortex, last for roughly 8 hours of active use. In my own field test 3-day hunting trip, I charged the unit fully each night and still had about 30% left by the final day. The recharge time is quick, under an hour with a standard USB-C charger, which means you don't need a separate power pack. Still, if you're planning a multi-day backcountry expedition without reliable electricity, you'll want to factor a small solar charger or spare battery into your packing list. One subtle trade-off is the learning curve. The interface is highly customizable, allowing you to select what data appears on the overlay: distance only, or distance plus wind, temperature, and bearing. New users might initially feel overwhelmed by the menu depth, especially if they're accustomed to simple binoculars with a focus knob. The auto-leveling feature helps because the device automatically adjusts the overlay when